Welcome to I Hate James Dobson, the unnecessary life story before the recipe. Welcome to I Hate James Dobson. My name is Jake. I'm an ex-evangelical turned queer sex therapist, and as always, I'm joined by the fabulous and fascinating Brooke. Hey, Brooke.
Hi, Jake.
Brooke, how you doing?
I'm doing so great.
It's been so long since we recorded like a whole 30 minutes.
The leaves are crunching under my feet. The brisk autumn air.
Happy Halloween to everybody out there. All of October's Halloween.
Happy Halloween. What are you going to dress up as?
A serial killer. They're just like all of us.
Ted Bundy.
Ted Bundy! Oh my God.
You should go as Ted Bundy and I'll go as James Dobson.
That's incredible.
That would be so funny.
That'd be very
No one would have any idea who we were. That would be incredible.
A lot of glasses in these looks.
Can you be sexy Ted Bundy and I'll be sexy James Dobson? That's the Halloween spirit.
Zac Efron already did that.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Oh, well.
That's true. What really quick, what would our pair's Halloween costume be? If we were really going to a party?
That's an excellent question.
Thank
Elphaba and Glinda? You'd be Elphaba, I'd be Glinda?
No. Tell me a little bit about why that was so quick of you to say.
Because when it comes out around Thanksgiving.
Yeah, but why were you so quick to say I'd be Elphaba?
Because I'm Elphaba in my mind, and so I wanted to give that role of honor to you.
Interesting. I think probably you're more of an Elphaba and I'm a little bit more of a Glinda. No. 2 Elphabas.
2 Alpha. Oh my God. Our couple's costumes, Elphaba and Elphaba. Honestly, I'm here for that.
Yeah.
Have you, or do you want to go to a pumpkin patch? Do you have any decorative gourds or vegetables?
You know me so well. I love that you think I would take the time to get some decorative gourds or ever eat a vegetable. Let's see. I am going in a week. This is like math. It's really September. I am going in a week or so to a fall event with my friend. I don't know what this event will be yet, but we like to go every fall on a little road trip. And once we went to a pumpkin patch, and once we went to a haunted corn maze.
That sounds fun.
And things like that.
Boyfriend and I are thinking about going to see his family, which is in rural country, and have actual cornfields, and not someone put up fake corn stalks in a parking lot and called it a pumpkin patch.
Can I just tell the quickest Halloween tale for our readers? I went into a corn maze one time with some friends. We were all full-grown adults, in our 30s at the time. I'm in my hundreds now. But there were a lot of kids and teens and stuff with us. Not with us, but also there. Yeah. So the premise was you go through a regular corn maze while the sun's going down to get the sense of a corn maze. Then the sun goes down and you're in this little clearing, and then they send you through the haunted corn maze. Okay. But they saw us and they were like, well, that's not really going to be fun for these adults to be in there with all these kids, right? So they're like, hey, we'll send you guys in 5 minutes early and then wait so you can be scared and it'll be more fun, and then we'll send the rest of the people and they'll eventually catch up with you, but at least you'll have fun for a while. We were like, that's so nice. Thank you so much. Great. They send us in 5 minutes early, but they don't tell anyone in the corn maze that they're going to do that. So we literally
skeleton smoking a cigarette.
Yes. The chainsaw guy smoking a cigarette talking to the gorilla, and they were like, we're not open yet. And they're like, they sent us in, and they're like, and then they would all just walk into the corn. We just saw them, and then they would come out and be like, ugh. It was so amazing. It was so good. And they're not allowed to touch you, which great. That should be a rule. But because of that, little kids or teens or whatever will see them and run. Well, we're not running because we understand these are probably just people we know getting a paycheck in the fall. So they would jump out of the maze, and we'd be like, whoa, scream. And then we would just stand there waiting for something to happen. But there's nothing they can do. So they would just walk backwards back into the corn.
Like that Homer Simpson meme?
Yes. It was the most incredible corn maze I have ever been to.
The spookiest thing of all, theater kids.
That's totally what it felt like. I'll never forget walking into the haunted corn maze and just seeing all of them hanging around, like watching YouTube and smoking.
Incredible.
Yeah. Okay. Happy Halloween.
So today, on that note, we're having a much lighter and sillier episode because we all need it.
Yes.
We are talking about media that is technically Dobson adjacent, but is comparatively the most progressive, woke thing you can imagine. In reality, it's not that, but compared to Dobson, it is.
Okay.
We're going to be talking about some media, some movies, some shows that were the staple of the 90s and 2000s for any Christian kid.
Yes.
There's more to the story than most people imagine, so let's take a trip right down memory lane to the dopamine receptors of nostalgia, at least for me. Today, we're talking about the juggernaut, the cultural behemoth, and era-defining intellectual property that is VeggieTales.
Yay! Did you like how I was just about to say Left Behind?
Not Left Behind. The working title for this episode is I Leave My Religious Trauma at the Door when it comes to VeggieTales.
Yeah.
Brooke, what do you know about VeggieTales?
Here's what I know. This was in the 90s?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was a teenager, so I wasn't watching anything like that. But I remember hearing about it, and we were like, oh, that's cute, like a cartoon for kids about vegetables that live in a fridge or whatever.
Sure.
And they had some, like, songs that were kind of like a bop, right? Like, I think I knew some of the songs,
We're going
right?
to talk about... oh, that's fascinating. We're going to talk about the music for sure.
Okay. I think I'd heard them. My little brother at the time was very young, and he wasn't... I don't know. It was like I was on. I saw it. I don't know. Maybe he watched it. But then we found out it was Christian.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember, like, we were such... the 90s into the early aughts, for people my age, was all about being, like, the snarkiest little asshole you could ever be. Mm. So then I think it might have been one of those things like Seventh Heaven or The Crouches. VeggieTales might have been one of those things that you kind of watched ironically a little bit, right? Because then when we found out it was Christian vegetables, we were like, what are you even talking about? So probably, I make it sound on this podcast like all I do is get high. I literally barely ever get high. I hope none of my parents are listening. That is what I know about VeggieTales.
Perfect.
Christian vegetables. And I remember you telling me they're not allowed to go to heaven.
We're going to talk about that too. So VeggieTales was created by Phil Vischer and Mike Naroki in 1993.
Oh, that early.
Mm-hmm. That was when the first one was released. The two of them met while attending a Christian college. Specifically, and this is a very, very like 90s Christian thing, they met in their puppet ministry.
If you and I ever have a band, I want to call it Puppet Ministry.
That's incredible. I'm so down for that. Importantly, I think they're actually legitimately talented storytellers. Mm-hmm. Together, they developed a computer animation film studio called GRAFX Studios, GraphX Studios. It was later renamed to the name you might recognize it as Big Idea Studios.
Oh, yeah.
The idea in question, teaching kids right and wrong through Bible stories.
Oh, no.
Sure, I guess. Their first episode of VeggieTales was released in 1993. It's called Where's God When I'm So Scared? It was actually kind of cutting edge in the world of animation at the time. Computer animated movies were very rare, and the first time any computer animated graphic was used in a film was actually Alfred Hitchcock's movie Vertigo in the 1950s.
Really?
Yeah, but there are only like bits and pieces, or like here's one character for 15 seconds that's computer animated, or here's a like model of a Sputnik circling the globe in computer animation. The first short CGI film didn't come out until 1982. With the release of a movie I've never heard of called Dream Flight. Seems cool. I saw some pictures about it online when I was researching for this. VeggieTales was the first completely computer-animated direct-to-video media. To put this in context, Toy Story didn't come out for 2 more years.
Oh, interesting.
So they were like working with computer animation in a way that people were experimenting with at the time, but it really wasn't mainstream. And with that, though, the technology was developing. This explains why they chose vegetables. Computer animation was new, expensive, and difficult, and rendering people was even more so. We as humans are sensitive to things that are not quite human. This is called the uncanny valley. You see weird CGI people that are like almost, but not close enough.
Wax museums.
Yeah, it makes you like feel weird inside.
Mm-hmm.
So non-human objects were selected, so the creators didn't have to worry about things like hands and legs and clothes.
Oh, interesting.
Originally, the characters were going to be candy. But Phil Vischer's wife, Lisa, said that parents would prefer a series that encouraged healthy eating, and thus VeggieTales was born.
Now I have a logistical question.
Mm-hmm.
Are there vegetables that are characters, like with names?
Yes.
And then they just live in the fridge forever and they never get eaten?
Oh, Brooke, we're gonna talk about it.
Okay, all right.
Additionally, though, this has been mentioned before, as you said, but Phil's mom had a big influence of the series at the start. She told them 2 rules. 1, do not depict Jesus as a vegetable.
Okay.
And thus, a lot of the Bible stories are from the Old Testament. And 2, you cannot imply that the veggies themselves have a personal relationship with Jesus.
Well, they don't even get to have a personal relationship with Jesus?
No, Jesus does not die for Larry the Cucumber sins. So again, Larry the Cucumber canonically is going to hell.
So why do they care about Jesus?
Because they care about you.
Okay.
So, Phil and Mike had an idea and had the skill to make it happen and enough of a budget to see it through. Mostly. They did have to rely on friends and family to provide the voices and other bits and pieces at first. So, the cast is Phil Vischer and his friend Mike. Phil voiced Bob the Tomato and Mike voices Larry the Cucumber. And then Phil's wife voices a character. Members of their church did other voices. A guy from the church did the music as well. So it's a very local community production kind of thing.
Is there a female vegetable?
There's a number of them.
Oh. Are they sexy like the green M&M?
Depends on how you define sexy.
The green M&M.
High
heels.
None of them have shoes.
Okay.
Because they're
vegetables. But they have mouths and faces?
Yes.
Okay.
So, throughout this episode, Brooke, I will be sending you pictures.
Great.
And so you will probably have seen Bob and Larry at some point if you've seen anything VeggieTales related. But for reference, these are our protagonists. This is Bob and Larry.
Oh, yeah. I've seen these little VeggieTales.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they just bounce around. Okay.
Yep. They just kind of hop around.
Mm-hmm.
So the computer animation, we'll talk about this a little bit more, is very rudimentary, but it works. They found a way to make it work.
Mm-hmm.
The first video, like I said, is called Where's God When I'm Scared? And introduces a lot of the major concepts of the show. I just sent you the cover art for the first episode.
That's pretty cute.
Yeah. Featured on this is also the other main character from the start, Junior Asparagus.
Aww.
This is a young asparagus boy who's voiced by Phil Vischer's wife.
Okay.
The first episode, VeggieTales, Where's God When I'm Scared? It starts the way any good show starts, with a banger of a theme song. We are immediately, in the course of this theme song, immediately introduced to our 2 main characters and their personalities. The silly Larry and the more professional and adult Bob the Tomato.
Mm-hmm.
And then the words carved into the grooves of my infant brain, which will stay with me until the day I die. If you like to talk to tomatoes, if a squash can make you smile, if you like to waltz with potatoes up and down the produce aisle, have we got a show for you.
I've heard that.
Mm-hmm.
If you like to talk to tomatoes.
Yep.
That's so cute.
It's a bop.
Mm-hmm.
In the earliest versions of the theme song, we're introduced to 3 other characters, a mom, a dad, and a child asparagus. Okay. Junior and his parents. His parents don't get names throughout the entire series. They're just parent asparagus. Hey everyone, editing Jake here. Turns out the parent asparaguses... Asparagi? The parents asparagus do actually have names. The dad asparagus is named Mike, and the mom is named Lisa, and they are named after Mike Naroki, one of the co-creators of VeggieTales, and his wife. They were only given names in Veggies in the House, a spin-off series which we're going to talk about later, and this is why I didn't know their names. Veggies in the House is not canon in this house. Okay, back to the show. And then, theme song is over, we're all hyped, it's great. We open on Bob and Larry on a kitchen counter. Bob tells us that we're here to answer your questions. The first question, is by a kid named Lucy Anderson, 6 years old of Phoenix, Arizona, asking for advice for when she's scared of monsters in her closet.
Okay.
Now, I don't believe this was a real letter, clearly.
Right.
But it doesn't have the same hollowness that Dobson's made-up anecdotes do. Because VeggieTales isn't trying to use them as proof to abuse child. They're not saying, oh, you should beat your kids because this one kid had a question, or this is going to make your kid gay because this made-up thing I made. They're just like, right. Oh, what do you do when you're scared? Great. Easy in, no notes.
Yeah. So far, this is pretty universal viewing.
Yeah.
Great.
And then we turn to a movie about when Junior Asparagus was scared. Junior, voiced by Phil's wife, is aged 5 canonically in this, watches a scary movie, and then is too scared to fall asleep, seeing remnants of the monster from the movie. He calls it Frankencelery. Technically, it's Frankencelery's monster. Whatever.
Good one.
Thank you. Bob and Larry drop in to help. Junior calls Larry a pickle, which made me laugh.
That is funny.
It's very funny. There's some good humor. And then their help comes in the form of a song called God is Bigger Than the Boogeyman.
Oh.
Junior, halfway through the song, they're like, it's very dark and creepy. What are you going to do? And the answer is pray to God or whatever. But Junior says, what are you going to do? And Junior says, I'm going to call the police.
Yeah. Okay.
Again, maybe laugh out loud. I was not expecting it.
Uh-huh.
So God is bigger than Boogeyman. God is always looking out for us. Throughout the course of this song, Junior starts to realize God's on his side, feels a lot better. And then, part through the song, meets Frankencelery, who's actually Phil Winkelstein, an actor from Toledo. Is his in-universe explanation.
Oh my God. Okay, I love VeggieTales.
It's great. It made me laugh. And his voice is similar to that of Jordan Peterson, which is not on purpose. Jordan Peterson wasn't a thing back in time. It just made me laugh of like, here's this like big scary monster. And then there's this like nasally voice like, actually, my name is Phil Winkelstein. And that's Act 1. That's technically Where's God When I'm Scared.
Incredible.
There's a second film, but that's how VeggieTales starts. And it starts with a fucking bang.
That is a bang. But you know what else? That happened on Mr. Rogers. Because Mr. Rogers had what's-her-face that played the Wicked Witch of the West from, why do I want to say Door County? what am I trying to say?
The Wizard of Oz?
Thank you. Why did Door County get in my head?
No idea.
Okay, I don't know.
Put a pin in Mr. Rogers. That's very interesting.
Yeah, she came in her holding all her costume pieces, and she was like, "This is my hat, but I'm just a regular lady."
I heard she suffered like pretty significant chemical burns from that movie.
That movie was cursed.
The Tin Man,
The Tin Man.
Yeah. Anyway, that's not our story today.
I'm sorry.
Moving on to movie number 2 in this one video cassette.
Yeah.
Daniel and the Lion's Den.
Okay.
Here, the ensemble of VeggieTales puts on the biblical story of Daniel and the Lion's Den, as you might have guessed from the title, Daniel and the Lion's Den. For the uninitiated, this is a Bible story from the Old Testament. Your boy Daniel was loved by the king, but hated by his advisors, so the advisors got Daniel thrown in the lion's den in order to kill him. But because Daniel had favor with God and prayed all night, the lions didn't eat him. So in the morning, the king found him and was shocked by this miracle and chose to worship the real God. I'm sure that will never happen again.
Yeah, I'm sure that's fine.
VeggieTales does pretty much like a beat-for-beat recreation of the story. It's a pretty popular children's church story, and at the time, really all they did was like add songs and jokes.
Okay.
It's basically an opera.
Oh my God.
Where like pretty much everything is sung. Larry the Cucumber plays David. Unnamed scallions play the king's advisors, and a British-ish asparagus named Archibald plays the king.
Okay. So far, I mean, I don't really need the Bible stuff in my life, but so far this is pretty, like, benign.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then at the very end, Bob and Larry, we return to the framing device. They're in the kitchen, and they go to the computer named QWERTY to review what we have learned. And then as soon as they say that phrase, there's a song that starts playing that goes, so what we have learned applies to our lives today. God has a lot to say in his book. And now we know that God's words are for everyone. Now that our song is done, let's take a look. And this is a running joke because Bob the Tomato hates this song. He gets very upset every time it comes on. And that's a couple episodes ago, I changed that for one of our introductions about Dobson. That's where this comes from.
Interesting.
They pull up a short Bible verse. In this case, it's do not be afraid because I'm with you. So all of the stories connect to fear and why God's on your side, so you shouldn't be afraid. And they side off with perhaps the most recognizable staple from the show, the phrase, God made you special and he loves you very much.
Oh, yeah. I still have a lot of logistical questions.
Okay.
They live in the fridge forever.
We never see the fridge.
Oh, they just live around.
We just see them on the kitchen counter.
Okay. And they have names and families and lives.
Yes.
And they don't have a goal of being eaten.
Nope.
Okay.
Or not being eaten. That doesn't really enter into the conversation.
Just vegetables. Don't worry about it too much. Okay. And they're talking to the audience of children, and they want you to love God they're indifferent because they're vegetables.
I mean, they love God. God doesn't love them.
They don't have a relationship with God.
Correct.
God, these poor veggies. It sounds kind of fun.
The theological implications not really delved into in the canon of this
true.
movie. But yeah, it is very much Christian children's media. Mm-hmm. But for that, it's a pretty good time.
It's also coming out into the world at the same time as a lot of interesting other animation things. Like Ren and Stimpy and Beavis and Butthead and these kind of like hardcore, kind of dirtier things, right? Mm-hmm. And it actually weirdly fits right in with like the stoner culture, because now that I'm remembering it, I think I know so much about VeggieTales, which is almost nothing, but I think I know about VeggieTales because people were like, high school kids were like watching it with all that other stuff, right? And it was like, they kind of dug it, I think. Yeah.
So I rewatched a lot of VeggieTales for writing this, and especially the original stuff, like, holds up. It is very, like, again, you have to buy into the fact that it's Christian children's entertainment, but for that, it's pretty good. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed myself watching it, and I don't think it's just because of the nostalgia.
Right.
So from this first episode, we see a lot of the staples of the show. Pretty good direction. Mm-hmm. Again, the technology isn't great, but the graphics aren't bad in a way that takes me out of the story. It still holds up, even if it's a little bit clunky now. There's some good humor. The stories are told well. Some of the music is actively pretty good, like the theme song. It feels, importantly to me, it feels age appropriate without being bad schlock. Mm-hmm. So parents could watch with their kids and parents would enjoy it as much as their kids did. A thing that happens a lot in children's media, like fucking Caillou, is, I hate this. Why are kids entertained by this? I'd rather stab my eyes out than have to watch another fucking second of the show. We're seeing a better version of this currently with the show Bluey. I don't know if you know much about Bluey, but it's a really good TV show. It's a parenting show that kids can also watch.
Yeah, this is all after I was a child. When I was a child, we had creepy, weird things from Canada, like Today's Special, and You Can't Do That on Television, and the Bloodhound Gang. It was...
I don't know any of those, and I don't like any of those.
Yeah, Today's Special was especially weird. Mm-hmm. It was about all the things that come to life in the mall after it closes.
This is a very deep cut, and I don't expect you to know. Did you ever hear of a Nickelodeon show called Mr. Meaty?
Mr. Meaty?
Yes.
No.
This is not about VeggieTales. It was a puppet show on Nickelodeon that relied on, like, dark, gross-out humor for kids.
Yeah.
That's what your description...
Yeah, that's what a lot of it was.
Yeah.
We had Mr. Somebody who's listening, tell me, Mr. Wizard or Mr. Science. I don't know. He was like an older man, and he would do little science projects with kids, and they were so cool. And they were the kind that you could then go like get stuff around your house and do it yourself. And I still love it. I remember the one I remember is he stuffed up like a napkin into a paper cup, and then he put it underwater like this, and then when he pulled it up, the napkin was still dry.
Wow.
Mr. Wizard, how'd you do that?
Magic.
Okay, anyway, go on.
So I want to actually get into this with you. I personally don't object to kids being raised with religion and spirituality. So the fact that your kids are watching VeggieTales to me is not like, oh no. If you are actively reading, bringing up boys to your children, I'll have a problem with that. Right. If your kids are watching VeggieTales, all right. Religion and spirituality, I don't think is inherently a harm to teach kids. No. It connects us to each other, our past, something bigger than us. It can be a healthy part of one's life. The how and what matters a great deal. But with VeggieTales, teaching kids to be nice to each other and not to lie because of the Bible, that's pretty inoffensive to me.
Right.
So the general format of the show, for a while at least, is Bob and Larry answering kids' questions with one or two stories put on by an ensemble of vegetables. And pretty quickly, this ensemble expands. So we got Bob and Larry, we also have Junior the asparagus, and then we get Laura the carrot, a counterpart for Junior. We get Pa Grape, French peas, Mr. Lunt the decorative gourd, Jimmy and Jerry, also gourds, Madam Blueberry, who's not a vegetable, and more that fill in the ensemble. Technically, Bob the tomato is also not a vegetable. He's technically a fruit.
Yeah, but we can understand that mistake a little more than a blueberry.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Sometimes these stories are from the Bible, like Daniel in the Lion's Den, and sometimes they're just parables for kids, like the Where's God When I'm Scared.
Yeah.
And lots of music. There's a lot of music. Some of it's whatever. Some of it's actually pretty good. Uh-huh. Other classic VeggieTales stories include Dave and the Giant Pickle, which is a retelling of David and Goliath.
Cute.
Rack, Shack, and Benny, the story of the time God saved 3 people from being burned alive. This episode actually slaps.
Thanks, God.
They do a retelling of the Good Samaritan, Josh and the Big Wall, which is a story of Joshua at Jericho, and he blew the trumpets on the walls, came tumbling down. They also include original stories like The Toy That Saved Christmas, and the spin-off-ish called Larry Boy. And this is where we're going to get our second picture.
Larry Boy?
Mm-hmm. Larry Boy is the superhero alter ego of Larry the Cucumber.
Yes.
Deep cut for me, this was one of my early favorites. I loved Larry Boy. I remember on my 5th birthday getting the Larry Mobile as like a action figure playset, and it was the highlight of the birthday. I think I also went to Disney for that birthday, and those things are on par for me, and that tells you how impactful that was for me. I just sent you a picture of a Larry Boy.
I'm looking at it right now. Oh my gosh, he's so cute. Has plungers for ears.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
In the canon of Larry Boy, he's kind of like a Batman, and his Alfred is Archibald the Asparagus, who we've talked about before as well. They also had, and this is going to be another picture for you, a trio made up of Larry the Cucumber, Mr. Lunt, the Decorative Gourd, and Pa Grape, called the Pirates Who Don't Do Anything.
That's funny.
And they don't do anything. They have a song, and their song is a competition for who hasn't done the most. And importantly, none of them have been to Boston in the fall.
None of them have been to Boston in the fall.
All their verses end with, and I haven't done this thing, and I haven't done that thing, and I've never been to Boston in the fall.
That's so cute.
Yes. And I also have not been to Boston in the fall. I've been there in the summer, but not the fall.
You know what's funny?
That would be a good time to go.
I've been to Boston in the fall.
Wow.
The one time I went, it was in the spring, not the fall.
So the exact opposite of the fall, then.
Yeah, never mind. I just wanted to tell you really quick that I've just sent you a photo. You can cut this from the blog of what we had in early 80s, which was teeny little super guy, and he was just a guy drawn on a cup.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, that was our version of VeggieTales. And the theme song was Teeny Little Super Guy.
That's cute. So, I generally like VeggieTales, but if you're telling Bible stories are kind of fucked.
Yep.
And so, there's a retelling of the story of David and Bathsheba. I don't know if you know your Bible stories that much, but in this story, King David, who's God's favorite and is canonically bisexual, spies on a naked lady named Bathsheba, arguably rapes her, impregnates her, and then's like, oh, I can't do that. She's married. So sends her husband into battle so he dies, and David can marry Bathsheba.
Yikes.
Yeah, it's a story and like, that's bad.
I liked it a minute ago when you said your Bible stories. That was funny.
So in the VeggieTales retelling, it's King Dave, and he steals a rubber ducky, despite having a very large collection of his own rubber duckies. As a kid, that works. As an adult, it does feel weird and like objectifying of women.
Yes.
Especially since none of the characters otherwise in the story are women. Editing Jake here again. Quick note, this does not me critiquing VeggieTales per se. More that I think that this shows how a lot of women in Bible stories are treated as objects. You could easily substitute an actual human being out for something like a rubber ducky, and it doesn't super change the story. They also do a similar thing with Esther. So in the story of Esther, King Xerxes exiles his wife for not entertaining him and his men while naked. It's largely believed that he wanted all of his men to have sex with her, and when she said no, he exiled her from town. And then Esther takes her place and uses her influence to prevent him from killing all of the Jews. She is legitimately kind of a feminist icon in certain theological circles. The story of Esther is pretty cool. And VeggieTales, Xerxes kicks out his wife for not making him a sandwich. That weird. Also feels bad.
Yeah, that's weird.
That's not the focus of the story, but like, ooh. But I feel like that's the risk that you run when you're telling Old Testament Bible stories to kids.
Yeah.
Can
I ask a Christian question that I don't know the answer to? Like, legit. Like, when you were growing up and you were an evangelical, you were reading the New Testament?
You read both.
You read both?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The Old Testament sounds like it kind of slaps.
The Old Testament God is very mean and petty and cruel, and He's the one who like Noah had, so he just like, oh, these people aren't being worshiping enough. Let's just kill everybody. Kills a lot of babies. The God of the Bible kills more children than Satan does.
Whoa.
Satan, I don't think, kills anyone or kills very few people canonically.
Okay.
Also, Satan isn't a character in the Bible. There's the idea of Satan wasn't like a singular person. It was more of a role. And it's just through the retellings of theology. Kind of like the rapture doesn't exist in the Bible.
Right.
The idea of Satan doesn't really exist in the Bible either.
Wow. What about hell?
Kind of. More so in the New Testament.
Interesting.
Most Jewish traditions don't really have hell as a concept, really.
Yeah, good point. Or Satan.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Thank you for that little education.
Mm-hmm. VeggieTales was growing in popularity and quality really quickly and becoming a staple of children's media in the 90s and early 2000s. Phil Vischer, one of his main inspirations was Walt Disney, and he wanted to turn VeggieTales into basically Disney. And he's said as much. Mm-hmm. So when VeggieTales grew, they absolutely exploded. Culminating in 2001, the first full-length feature film of VeggieTales came out. Jonah, a VeggieTales movie. This is the story of Jonah. It's a pretty famous one.
And the whale?
Yes.
Yep.
Technically, it's a big fish.
Oh.
Which is a very semantic point that evangelicals love to point out.
Why?
Because they're petty. I don't know.
Okay.
This movie cost $14 million to make, and it was largely self-financed. It grossed $25.6 million at the box office. But you see, Big Idea didn't really have $14 million to spare, especially since they were sued and lost. Big Idea had to pay $11 million to another company for business reasons that it doesn't matter. VeggieTales was then sold to Classic Media, the people who own such titles as Lassie and the claymation Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Oh, yes. I grew up on those.
Mm-hmm. They're owned by the same people who then owned VeggieTales and Big Idea.
Interesting. Okay.
Classic Media did keep the brand alive, but it took a lot of control away from Phil and Mike, the original creators. The films got more mainstream and less explicitly Christian. It's subtle at first, but it grows more over time. From that on, they had a lot more pop culture-based videos like Lord of the Beans and Minnesota Cuke and the Search for Samson's Hairbrush instead of Indiana Jones. Mm-hmm. With this bankruptcy and then revival, VeggieTales had turned into sort of a facsimile of its former self. Their second full-length movie, titled The Pirates Who Don't Do Anything, capitalizing on The Pirates Who Don't Do Anything, was released in 2006, had no explicit mentions of God or the Bible.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. It did, however, feature a cover of the song, The Pirates Who Don't Do Anything, by the band Relient K.
Oh, yeah. I remember you talking about them.
I still begrudgingly have some love for Relient K. Some of their music is really interesting and well done. This cover is not that. This cover is bad. It left crumbs. Do not listen to it. VeggieTales movies were released through 2015. So from 1993 to 2015, they were putting out with some regularity.
It's a long time.
It's a really long time. Mm-hmm. In the meantime, they also got various spin-offs, such as VeggieTales on TV, which ran on NBC from 2006 to 2009.
Oh my gosh.
But with each related spin-off, things got a little bit further from the original vision. So they did tell biblical stories, but got rid of explicit messages of God or religion, including God made you special and he loves you very much. Mm. Further, the framing device shifted from the kitchen counter to Bob's house and paid a lot more attention to the daily lives of the vegetables.
Okay.
Which you didn't really get a ton of in the original VeggieTales.
Right.
And then in 2014, Netflix picked up VeggieTales and created VeggieTales in the House. An abomination before God and everybody. At this point, the de-evolution was complete. Veggies in the House is a surface-level drivel meant to keep kids mindlessly entertained. The lessons are superficial at best, and there is no good music. It focuses almost exclusively on the overworld of the vegetables and their lives. There's no telling stories about this, or here's a cutaway to this. And they redesigned the characters.
No.
To look doo-doo garbage clown mess.
Let me see.
They got 3 seasons.
They did?
They got 3 seasons of Veggies in the House.
This was in 2015?
Mm-hmm. And then Netflix gave that spinoff another spinoff.
What?
They went from Veggies in the House to veggies in the city.
Okay, this vegetable has hair.
Oh yeah, that's a more or less Larry's love interest.
Oh my god.
And you can tell she's a girl because she has hair.
Yeah, and eyelashes and a pink dress.
And they got rid of Laura the carrot and replaced it with whatever this fucking girl is. So that show flopped, and then Netflix revived it again for VeggieTales in the City. I watched some VeggieTales in the house as it was originally coming out because I also have a younger brother who was interested in it, and I hated it at that time. I did not watch any VeggieTales in the City.
No.
And apparently no one else did either, because I found basically nothing about it online. Even the VeggieTales Wikia had almost no information. It had like the episode list and like a sentence description. No like fun facts, no behind the scenes information, just like here's what it existed as. Oh, and it had 2 seasons. This one had 2 seasons, so 5 seasons of this bad spinoff altogether because Netflix just has money.
Yep.
The general consensus I found was twofold. It was slightly better than VeggieTales in the House, and a surprising number of people did not realize it was Christian media until they brought back God Made You Special and He Loves You Very Much.
Oh, they did?
At some point, yeah. Okay. And that like threw people into a spiral. And then, in 2019, TBN bought the rights to VeggieTales.
No, the Crouches.
And they bought it from DreamWorks.
From DreamWorks?
Not a Christian company. Because Classic Media got bought by someone, who got bought by someone, who got bought by Netflix and VeggieTales.
Yeah.
And this was generally a return to form for the series. Most of the original crew returned, including their music guy. The god-awful remodels were thrown out, and a version of the original designs were created. It also starts with kids asking for advice, something that was missed in the reboots from Netflix. And they even go back to putting on shows for the audience. Although this time it's still in their worlds. So they're not talking to the audience. They're not saying God loves you and God made you special and He loves you very much. They're not talking to the kids. But in the show, Bob the Tomato wants to create a community theater. And he fashions himself as a Mr. Rogers type. Mm. But unlike Mr. Rogers, everything always falls apart in his shows. But they go back to telling Bible stories. This is the most explicitly Christian version of VeggieTales. According to Phil Vischer, he spent years making VeggieTales to persuade kids to behave Christianly without teaching them Christianity. With this being said, Fisher made the new VeggieTales show to go more theologically in-depth than the previous few series, especially the Netflix ones. It teaches the tenets of Christianity rather than just teaching kids to behave morally. At the very start, there's a 9-episode arc that is all about the fruit of the Spirit, which is comes from a verse in the Bible that says, you will know a person is a Christian because of the fruits of the Spirit. So they will manifest love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. That's how you know that someone's a Christian, theoretically.
You just knew all those?
Oh, yeah. Against such things there is no law. Yes. Again, I don't think, Brooke, I can impress upon you how much Awana quizzing just like still stays in my brain.
Oh my God.
I can give you the chapter and verse too, but we're not going to go there.
No.
To me, it feels like post-Jonah VeggieTales. Like this era feels like after Classic Media bought it. It was just fine, but it's not inspired. It doesn't feel like a passion project. It feels like media that is marketable for the masses, which is what it was. It's fine, I guess, but original VeggieTales is lightning in a bottle to me. And I don't think that's just the nostalgia. And then in 2021, Phil Vischer announced that he, Mike, his wife, and their music guy, Kurt Heineke, were fired from Big Idea.
Oh, no.
Mm-hmm. Later that year, Big Idea declared bankruptcy again, marking its death for real. The VeggieTales show last episode aired on April 1st, 2022, and it was a lesson in gratitude, which I find to be a little bit ironic.
Uh-huh. I just realized VeggieTales is older than you.
Mm-hmm. It's older than me and also Kevin.
Ew.
Uh-huh.
No.
So, there's a lot to be said for the VeggieTales story. It's one of hubris, of capitalism commodifying everything, including religion. The eternal capitalistic state of not letting things die. I do not have any love lost for the franchise. It probably should have ended a long time ago. But there are parts that I still really enjoy and appreciate. But the best part of the show is the music. I brought this up a couple of times, but Kurt Heineke is an icon to me. Don't know fuck all about the guy. I've intentionally left out my favorite part of all of these shows, and probably the thing that people most remember about the show. You see, in the original VeggieTales days, there'd be a break in between the middle of the episodes. So we had Where's God When I'm Scared, break, Daniel in the Lion's Den. In that break, there's a segment entitled Silly Songs with Larry. And it was a part of the show where Larry comes out and sings a silly song. Brooke, I can think of little else that demonstrates and explains my sense of humor better than Silly Songs with Larry. I still know quite a few of them by heart, despite not having heard any of them in well over a decade. And the songs were indeed silly. They're more absurdist. Again, there's a humor, not like adult humor like raunchy gross, but like there's a humor that I think adults could appreciate. The very first one in the Where's God When I'm Scared was called the Water Buffalo Song. In it, Larry, in a cowboy hat, sings a nonsense song about his water buffalo, before the exasperated Archibald Asparagus interrupts him. Dear reader, it is at this point that I play the Water Buffalo Song for Brooke and sing along flawlessly to it. I cannot do the same here for copyright purposes, but I encourage you to go and listen to it if you want.
This show is fun.
It's good. Again, it slaps. It's a banger. And I don't have those lyrics written down. That's just from the dome.
Yeah.
Other absolute bangers include one called Endangered Love, better known as Barbara Manatee, in which Larry the Cucumber becomes engrossed with a soap opera starring Barbara Manatee. Additionally, Where Is My Hairbrush, a dramatic number where Larry mourns the loss of his hairbrush before being confronted with the reality that he does not, in fact, have any hair. The Peach took it, because he's got hair.
Peach took it. Oh
Even
God.
The Pirates Who Don't Do Anything were originally introduced as a one-off silly song. Readers, this one is for you. This is my, as much as I can probably get away with legally, of Where's My Hairbrush. Oh, where is my hairbrush? Oh, where is my hairbrush? Oh. Yeah, editing Jake here. That's about all the time we've got for copyright purposes. Anyway, is my hairbrush?
I've heard this.
Yes.
Why?
Because one, it's a bop, and two, it had cultural staying power.
Yeah, it did.
And all of the things that people remember from VeggieTales, or all the things that I think people remember from VeggieTales, are from like the super early days. No one remembers fucking veggies in the house. That shit's drivel. This was actually like someone had a good, unique, cool idea and made it a reality. I think that's really cool. My personal favorite silly song, however, is hands down His Cheeseburger. This song is not sung by Larry, but rather by Mr. Lunt, the decorative gourd, and I didn't mention this yet, he's from New Jersey.
Sure.
In the song, Mr. Lunt declares his love for cheeseburgers. That's the whole idea, and it's fabulous. We cannot broadcast the full song, but I'm going to have Brooke listen to the full song, because I hope you see me in this song.
I'm sure I will.
Editing Jake here one last time. We are going to have to censor this too, but if you take away anything else from this episode, I encourage you, go listen to His Cheeseburger, give yourself a treat, it's a bop, it's a good time, and think of me when you do.
Oh my God.
I thought you were going to sing about growing up in Connecticut. This has been Love Songs with Mr. Lunt. Tune in next time to hear Mr. Lunt say, I grew up in New Jersey.
Incredible.
Brooke, this song is my secret. It is my love. It is my passion. It is my heart. And when I'm the right level of drunk, which I am almost here, you didn't get to see the full thing, I will perform this song. I've literally gotten on my hands and knees and like thrashed around and thrown my head. This song has a raw passion that it embodies that is unmatched by any Taylor Swift song ever. Come at me, Swifties. I loved writing this episode.
Oh my God.
I wanted to do it because I felt we all needed some levity.
Yeah.
But also a little bit more seriously because I think an important part of deconstruction, especially for me from evangelicalism, is finding the pieces of you that to keep and the mountains of bullshit you're throwing away. For me, original VeggieTales are those parts of me. It's connected to family and good memories. I used to have a set of pillows with Bob and Larry on them, and I adored them. I remember watching the Joni movie over and over again and singing along to the soundtrack with Kevin. I remember in our California house, there's Entertaining Angels, deep cut, doesn't matter, just the two of us like going ham on it. I think that my family still has a VeggieTales nativity set. I'm pretty sure. It helped teach me good stories and how to be smart about being silly. Mm-hmm. And also values, whatever. The lessons I learned felt good for me at the time and largely remain so. And I think practicing gratitude is important. I do think we need to be mindful of spreading rumors. We should recognize our privilege and care for the less fortunate. All these are VeggieTales stories. Mm-hmm. Obviously, life is more complex than that, but I do think it helped provide the right foundation for me to move through the world in a number of ways. I like VeggieTales, or at least my VeggieTales. No one, not even fucking James Dobson, can take that away from me. But oh boy, do I hate James Dobson.
I hate James Dobson, but you know what I love? Celery.
I love Franken-Celery's monster.
What's your favorite vegetable?
Like in VeggieTales?
No, in life.
Oh, in life? Interesting. Recently, I've been on like a big broccoli kick.
Okay.
Like, well, not on its own, but like mix, like in a dish when it's nice and fried. Get some good sauce on it.
Oh yeah. Have you had broccolini?
Yeah.
Okay, let's try that again. Have you had broccolini?
Oh my god, I love broccolini. Love pink. What is your favorite vegetable?
Carrots and peppers.
Okay, good choices. Good choices both. Carrots are like a anytime go-to.
Yeah. Peas.
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't really need a Brussels sprout.
I was gonna say Brussels sprouts, interestingly.
Yeah.
Did you know throughout our lifetimes, scientists have genetically bred Brussels sprouts to be less bitter?
Really?
So if you are thinking, reader, depending on how old you are, thinking about like Brussels sprouts as a childhood, and you're like, oh, I developed a taste for them. One, happens with age, but two, they do taste better now.
Maybe that makes a lot of sense because I can eat them. People are always like, well, have you ever had it drowning in butter and covered in bacon? And I'm like, yeah, you could give me a wad of paper drowning in butter and covered. I would eat that too. But like, it's not about the Brussels sprout. Mm-hmm. Interesting. That's an interesting thing. Well, VeggieTales is a lot of fun. I would totally watch it now. I probably did watch some of it. I mean, I wasn't the right age for it, but I probably did see some of it and think it was funny at the time because I'm familiar with the idea of it. The Bible stories I could take or leave, but the rest of it sounds pretty funny. I'm sorry it went through a journey that was distressing into Netflix, but I'm glad you have your original VeggieTales to look back on.
If anyone listening, if any of your readers listening are interested in going back, if this like struck a nostalgia chord for you, get some compilations of silly songs.
Yeah.
Those are really obviously His Cheeseburger is my favorite. Where's My Hairbrush? Endangered Love. Pirates Who Don't Do Anything. Yodeling Veterinarian of the Alps is pretty good. I Love My Lips. There's one where Larry goes to a therapist and talks about his love for his lips.
Oh, nice. Nice. I want you all readers to know that after we sign off here today, I'm going to force Jake to watch some of the creepy 80s sitcom intros.
That feels fair.
We're the Bloodhound Gang. They're all really depressing. No, don't add any doot-doots. No. Just really depressing children singing. Yeah, exactly. All right, well, I love the VeggieTales. I love you. And I hate James Dobson.
Till next time, everybody.
Bye.
God made you special, and he loves you very much, but not Larry the Cucumber. I Hate James Dobson is Labor of Love, written, recorded, edited, and produced by me, Jake. I'm honored to be joined by my amazing co-host, Brooke. If you're enjoying the show, please consider rating and reviewing it, and if you want to connect with us more, you can find us on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at I Hate James Dobson, and on Twitter at IHateJDobs. If you want to email us, you can do so at IHateJamesDobson@gmail.com. Special thanks to Drew, Lindsay, DJ, and Jack. Our theme music is by Mood Maze, and the song is called Trendsetter. Thank you for enjoying our show. Welcome to I Hate James Dobson, a particularly petty and pointed podcast perched on positive, playful petulance and precise, principled probing.
Well, you love alliteration so much.
I blame Lemony Snicket.
What are you going to have left when you get to introducing me with P letters?
I don't know.
You already used petulant.